When I use my GoPro to record high-res 4K quadcopter footage, I end up with these strangely named video files. GoPro has come up with this nonsensical way of naming their video files where, for instance, on this short video file right here, this is the first one, it's 010273. The GH stands for GoPro High Resolution. If the video file becomes too large and goes over 3.9, well, I guess it's 3.72 gigabytes, it starts another file. And when it does that, instead of putting a distinguishing file name identifier on the end of the file, it puts it on the front of the file. So this one is GH01, and then the next file is GH02, and then they end in 0274. And what this does is when you have lots of different files in one directory and you sort by file name, it shuffles them all up. Everybody hates this. No one can figure out why GoPro did it this way. At least one person came up with a batch file that would rename these files. That batch file is called DohPro, and it's available on GitHub. I will put a link to it in this video description. For me, I also use the low resolution files that GoPro creates. These things start with GL for low resolution. For some reason, they have .lrv instead of .mp4 for their file extension. So for me to use these as proxy files in my video editing software, I need to first rename them so that the extension is mp4, and then I would want to rename them so that the file names kind of match with the file names of the high resolution files. So I took that existing DohPro batch file and I added some new lines of code that would first rename the high resolution files. Then it would rename the low resolution files with new extensions and then new file names that match the high resolution files. When I download video files from my camera, I can drop them into a directory, drop this batch file into this directory. I just copy it out of one of my other GoPro file directories. And then if I double click on this, it will rename all of these files using that new scheme. So I'll show you how that works. So I'm going to double click on this, and it very quickly renames all the files. So now I have GH 0273-1 and 0274-1 and 2. And the low resolution files are GLs 0273-1 and 0274-1 and 2. So now everything sorts properly, it all makes sense, and all it required was that simple double click on the batch file. I created a GitHub repository for this particular batch file. Anybody can download it and use it. Hopefully it will be handy for other people as well. I believe that if you don't use these GL files, if you just use the GHs, it will work just fine. If you use this version, it just won't do anything with the other files. Credit goes to the original developer of the batch file. Thank him if you can.